This week on the Vic Meier Show, we're going back to have a conversation with former wildlife officer Steve Searles and international celebrity known as the Bear Whisperer.
Hundreds of millions of people found it egregious. I can tell you now on camera, I think that they should have been cited, charged with a crime, and then given their day in court. People want answers, and they're not given answers.
We're going to get the rest of the story concerning Victor the Bear and why this goes just a little bit deeper than you might expect. Come on with me down the rabbit hole.
Alcohol was definitely involved. We're just drunk as could be. The Victor the Bear was just one more example of how out of balance our community is. I thought I knew everything about the story. So many people have come to tell me what happened. And it's really very sad that there's so much misreporting. You can come to Mammoth and get drunk. You can come to Mammoth and be stupid. You can't come to Mammoth and be drunk and stupid.
This is it. This is the infamous stump. This is where some say it all began. But truthfully, all of this mess could have been avoided.
It is the oddest thing. Of the hundreds of millions of people that have gotten involved, of the masterminds at the Fish and Game and the Forest Service, nobody's talking about what is about to happen, what is going to change at Lake Mary.
Coyotes, maybe?
Lake George will see dynamic changes because Victor had his way all these years without problems, without any significant problems. Now we just got put our foot in it, and we're going to start an experiment that likely we won't like the results of. Contrary to what people think or think about me or think about my relationship with the bears, for me to go up there and intervene in any way, lethal, non-lethal, without wearing a badge and having the credentials that I need would be unlawful and an arrestable offense. So that was never even an option.
I'm back here again with Steve Searles, the Bear Whisperer, a beloved member of our community and a great protector of the wildlife in this area who we've lost recently and who has had some experience with a lot of these firsthand accounts and campers who have felt so compelled about their story and the importance of their story and getting the information correctly that they have reached out to you and come here to your home like I have so that they can speak truth to power, which is what we're here to do.
It's been months since Victor was killed, and people continue to come and visit me at my house. This weekend was no exception. It was people that were camped in the campground and wanted to share their story of what they saw. I thought I knew everything about the story. So many people have come to tell me what happened in their eyes and their experience. This was a little different. This couple are career lifeguards and are medically trained in LA County. And so when the lady got slapped by Victor, they responded immediately to render first aid. It's a very small campground on Lake Mary. The campground's just a straight row on the road facing the lake, and it only has 10 campsites. The incident occurred in 9. These folks were staying in campsite 2.
I'm standing here in campsite 2 just to give you some perspective bearing on where exactly all this occurred. And the campsites all kind of converge here in the middle at this point where there's a restroom that you can see behind me right here and a pathway that leads to all the campgrounds. And just over my shoulder to this side is the infamous stump and campsite 9 where all of this mess happened. If you're enjoying what you're watching and you haven't done so already, please do me a favor and subscribe. It does a lot to help grow this channel and the dream that is the Vic Meier Show. Much love.
They live in Huntington Beach. They come up here to camp at Lake Mary at that campground, specifically to get an opportunity to see Victor the bear. They do it multiple times a year and have come for several years with just that goal. They said that as evening was setting on, they have 3 dogs, put them on the leash to walk across the street to the shoreline of Lake Mary. When they did, they saw Victor approaching the campground, but they had experience, like so many people with Victor, were self-appointed guardians of Victor and the rodeo that can go on at the campground. So when they saw Victor approaching, they walked over with their 3 dogs. The dogs were barking, moving the bear along, and they went down the row, letting other campers know that the bear was coming through and to put their stuff away.
What was the reception to that sort of thing?
You're going to interview them, but what they told me was that the people in Campsite 9 and Campsite 10 were just drunk as could be, smashed, and weren't...
That's what they told me.
You know, so they weren't acting rationally before the incident and after the bear left the scene, and they had the damage to her leg. They weren't responding rationally. Then it is a very tiny campground. If anybody's being loud or music, anything, everyone's going to hear it. And so the dogs were barking. People were alerted that the bear was coming through. Everyone was responding accordingly, contrary to their testimony at the city council. That absolutely was not true what they said. They knew for sure the bear was there and coming. The people, as drunk as they were, got behind the wheel and drove the lady that was on the stump down to Mammoth Hospital, which is just maybe 10 minutes at the most away. When they got to the emergency room, the hospital is the one that called law enforcement.
And that's their legal duty to inform law enforcement.
Absolutely.
Who would respond in such a case?
The Mammoth Lakes Police Department.
Really? The people who told me that they didn't have any officers reporting to the scene.
I wasn't there, but the Mammoth Lakes Police Department, on any kind of incident, it doesn't have to be bears, but anything that the hospital feels compelled to call it in and report it, then the officers on duty are going to respond to the hospital to take a report and interview the person on what has happened. You know, for years, there was a saying at the Mammoth Lakes Police Department when I worked there in uniform: you can come to Mammoth and get drunk, you can come to Mammoth and be stupid. You can't come to Mammoth and be drunk and stupid. You're going to get a court date. And so that didn't occur in this situation.
Who ordered the killing of Victor the bear?
The chief of police, when he first spoke to me, he said it was unprovoked. And so that's what determined that the bear needed to be put down immediately. I ran into him and his wife in town. He asked me if I had seen the video yet. I told him I had. He told me it was unprovoked. And then he ended up coming over to my house to speak to me further. Dan Kasabian, when he watched the video, made the decision and ordered for the bear to be killed on site.
Who's Dan Kasabian?
Dan Kasabian is the chief of police for the Mammoth Lakes Police Department. People don't understand the chain of command, my frustration with the city council and the town manager, Rob Patterson. Dan was compelled at that moment to answer to his boss, which is the town manager. He works only for the town manager. The town manager would immediately notify all 5 city council members. This was 24 hours before the bear was destroyed. And so those 7 people were on the inside track and were all notified, and I would assume, all in agreement to put the bear down. The Mammoth Lakes Police Department, they are the authority for the Lakes Basin. They're the law enforcement there, always have been. No, the United States Forest Service, the feds, they have no presence up there at all. The state, which is Department of Fish and Game, they have no presence up there at all. They don't patrol it or enforce the laws or anything like that. Any laws that are enforced in the Lakes Basin is by the Mammoth Lakes Police Department, and that's the chain of command. As soon as the Fish and Game was notified, they sent up officers for the destruction of Victor as well.
I heard he was shot, and then we've discussed this, and I know that to not be true. He was shot with a tranquilizer dart, not shot to be killed.
It's really very sad that there's so much misreporting, and it's people blame news agencies. I don't think that's the case here. Those state and federal agencies misreported to news agencies. News agencies misreported it to the public. No, Victor wasn't shot with a shotgun or a rifle or a handgun. The Mammoth Lakes Police Department bailed on the whole situation, left it to 2 fish and game biologists and 2 Forest Service LEOs.
Leo stands for?
Law enforcement.
Okay.
And they were in cold water the next night. They saw a bear passing through outside of the campground and shot at the bear with a pneumatic dart that it injected him with a tranquilizer to sedate the bear. The bear was struck, it laid down and was sedated so that they could go over and see what bear they had darted. They had no experience in the Lakes Basin at Lake Mary in Coldwater Campground and didn't know who Victor the bear was.
So they took out a bear without even knowing if it was Victor?
The people on scene, I know for a fact, that know Victor very well, that live up there, did not identify him to the uniforms. They did the opposite. They said, we don't know what bear it is. I have mixed feelings about it. I can't imagine being from out of the area with a full campground, full weekend, all the people that were around, all think Victor's pretty special. And here they're sent up there to some place that they're not familiar with, and with a bear that they need to destroy that they've never met or seen before. I can't imagine that being in their shoes, it was set up for failure from the very beginning. I could identify Victor from across Lake Mary, and most people can. A very unique looking bear. These 4 guys, 2 Forest Service and 2 Fish and Game, didn't have that benefit.
How did Victor's body end up in a dump?
It's been reported to me by multiple people. They put him on a tarp. The 4 guys drug him across the stream and over to their rigs, loaded him up. That was late in the evening. The bear, reportedly by DFG, was then transferred to the DFG offices in Bishop. And when that photograph was taken was the following day, is when he was laying at the landfill.
Did the authorities attempt to do anything differently with Victor's body before they just tossed it in a dump?
No, they did not. That was the plan all along, was to dump them at the landfill.
We locals here in Mammoth Lakes, and I'm sure you as well, found that action to be very egregious.
To respond to your comments, Vic, about that people found it egregious, hundreds of millions of people found it egregious. People that don't know where Mammoth Lakes is on a map, have never been here, had never had the pleasure of being with Victor. They all thought it was, at the very least, in poor taste, at the most, just almost criminal to put this wonderful animal, after what caused him to get killed, people, ignorance, stupidity, drunkenness, to dump him at a landfill. I think most reasonable people objected to that.
Remember, when you're out there on the road, keep it between the lines and look out for Smokey, because they're looking out for you. And as always, thank you for allowing me to entertain you, although this time posthumously and, as always, presumably. This is the Vic Meier Show every Wednesday on YouTube. Thank you to my Patreon members, Whitney, David, and David. And we'll see you next week right here on the Vic Meier Show, 4 p.m. Wednesday. Much love, everybody. Victor the bear was killed because of a lie.
He said it wasn't the tourists' fault. We know for sure they're doing a job. They dumped all the responsibility onto campground hosts.
Well, this is it. This is the infamous stump. And this is where some say it all began. But truthfully, all of this mess could have been avoided, because as evidence has been pointed out to me, as new information has come to light, we here at the Vic Meier Show have found out that the testimony given to the town council of Mammoth Lakes was absolutely incorrect and a lie. There was no doubt these campers knew that there was a bear coming through their camp, and they were looking forward to it. And unfortunately for Victor, they got more than they bargained for. But that's just to be said. You don't bait bears into your camp and then blame it on the bear. Is it true that there's a bear clan?
I am proud to call the native people that have so much respect for the bear, for all the animals, for the earth, the water, those that fly, those that hop. But yeah, their trademark is the bears, and for many, many years I've considered them my family, and I still do.